We now return to Native News, a closer look into issues facing Native Americans and non-Natives alike. Today, blending modern technology and ancient culture. How can parents, educators, and tribes find the new balance? How can new tools help? We spent weeks investigating for this Native News. Enjoy.
These Native youth and thousands more from tribal nations across the United States are drifting farther away from the lives their grandparents led. As a new generation embraces the 21st century, dominated by a digital universe, a 24-hour news cycle, and hours spent staring at computer screens, TV screens, iPad screens, or cell phones, kids are far less tuned into the past and less aware of the language their ancestors spoke.
But I come from a younger generation, so communication in the 21st century, texting, Facebook, emails, I do that on a daily basis. You know, I grab my phone on a daily basis and text, email, Facebook, all that, Twitter. But being that I'm the only, there's not many people that speak our language, and I'm one of the few people that, that can speak at my ability. I found out this past year I'm at a 1% level.
Lakota tribal member Dylan Ironshirt is part of that generation who is fully connected with friends through social media. But unlike many his age, Dylan sees the importance in preserving native languages and works as a language instructor after mastering his Lakota language.
I'm a walking dictionary, like, you know, and I always tell them, you know, I'm like, you guys better learn, you know, you guys should, and I don't tell them anymore, you know, I used to tell them, get after them, you know, why don't you guys want to know, you know, or I'd say things and I just see that there's no interest, you know, and it's like trying to teach someone Russian if they don't want to learn Russian, you can't.
Making it harder for teachers like Dylan is that many tribes feel their language is sacred, something not to be shared and taught to outsiders.
There's older people like that today. They will not write down the language. And every single tribal nation is different. They have different beliefs. They see things different. They have different, you know, there was a different time. At one time, you know, our elders were raised in a different time, you know, and the time that they were raised in, and I respect it, because that's, growing up, that's what I've always heard, you know, you don't write down the language. Some people say it's sacred, you know, our language is sacred, you know, it's a spiritual language. It's not just the everyday language like English.
Dylan respects that, but tries to expose his friends to the Lakota language using tools they can relate to, with a new Lakota font or alphabet that works with computers.
For our language to take another step. Otherwise, if we don't adapt and we don't start, you know, creating this font, and if we didn't have people that wanted to create the font, a set font, then I wouldn't be able to sit there and email and joke around on Facebook with my friends, you know, that are trying to learn. I couldn't joke around with them, you know, if we didn't have a way of writing. We have to adapt.
While Miccosuke magazine TV cameras were rolling, Dylan showed us how it works, going on Facebook using a new way to communicate using an ancient language.
I don't know, we could be like joking around. Well, we always joke around in our language. Every tribe does, but I'll be giving my adopted brother, Junior, I'll be giving him crap. I say, like, what are you doing? Looks like a joking way of saying, like, hey, what are you doing? And him like, oh, Daganish, we chitinish kanshkamamake. It's like, oh, I'm just sitting here watching TV. And I'd be like, I could give him crap and say, earlier, hey, how, it's like you're sitting on Facebook earlier. I seen you, you know, like it's a joking way of saying it. But see, I didn't say Facebook. You didn't hear me say it in English, you know. Right here. The alphabet you'll see right here. Naomi Miccosuke Hake, last horse. Naomi last horse, but she used the actual alphabet. That's people who, and she's a part of this is my brother Junior's page, and she's at the language summit right now. But see, they emphasize on switching over from English into Lakota, and so she's actually using, this is our actual alphabet, what I have here.
Older natives are using modern tools like Facebook, cell phones, and computers to share their languages.
For me, language is very important because that is what is given to us by the Creator to speak when we are born, and I've always been an advocate of the language.
Martina and her husband, Ron Yellowman, came to visit South Florida tribes last year from their tribal home on the Manitoulin Island in the Manitoba province of Canada.
Really come across people that do speak their language and do their own clothing and everything, so it is really good, feel good when we come down here to see. And the people of Miccosuke is Seminoles, and they're still doing the best they can to keep the culture going. So
Miccosuke leaders like Houston CYPRESS stress language preservation and outside exposure is a private matter for individual tribes themselves to decide.
Our community is going to be reluctant to put these sorts of information down because we've always been an oral culture. We passed it down through the stories, working with our elders, working with our families. So we might be a little bit reticent to do that.